If someone asked me, have you ever been in love? I'd say, have you ever been to Florida? The home of Governor DeSantis, where the water is warm and the freedom is plentiful. Oh, have you? Now listen. My talents are not for free. They do cost you a 5-star review and a subscribe. No, I'm kidding. Okay, but come on down to DeSantis land, July 22nd through 24th for Turning Point USA's Student Action Summit. Okay, this conference is for both men and women of all ages and will feature speakers like Governor DeSantis, former President Trump, Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, and more. Secure your spot at tpusa.com/sass and use code Alex. A little while back, I did an entire episode of The Spillover with my BFF Lauren. And the moral of that episode was basically that before I met my current boyfriend, Nick, I had notoriously bad luck when it came to dating. I am talking screaming, crying, throwing up in a bad way, a type of bad luck. And from my experience and the experiences of my friends, dating apps don't always help. I feel like it doesn't matter if you're on Tinder, Hinge, or Bumble. Swipe life is sometimes just not the way. I mean, it is just a cruel world out here for us normies. But have you ever wondered what it's like to date as a celebrity, as an athlete, or even a millionaire? How about a billionaire? And no, I'm not talking about what it's like to be on Raya. I personally wanted to know. So I found a professional matchmaker who is sought after by some of the most eligible bachelors in the entire world. Not only is she here to give us insight into what that is like, she's also spilling her tips and tricks on what we've all been doing wrong on dating apps and for the gals who brave the waters at the bars or just in life in general. When it comes to finding love, she's got the answers and all of the tea, not only on dating life for normal people, but also her exclusive insight in working with A-list stars. She's an author, business woman extraordinaire, former celebrity stylist, and billionaire matchmaker. Please welcome to The Spillover, Gina Hendrix. I actually discovered you through Heather McDonald's podcast, Juicy Scoop, Gina, and fell in love with you. And I just thought, what a freaking woman. Like, she's truly doing it all. And I was like, what a wealth of knowledge. Conservatives, you know, the girls that listen to my show are just going to want to ask you so many things. So the first thing is, for those who haven't listened to you anywhere else or aren't familiar with you, could you explain what attracted you to professional matchmaking in the first place? Like, were you setting up friends a lot when you were younger, or how did you get into this?
So I think the full story is, just to tell everybody, I've had 3 careers. So I was a flight attendant for Delta Airlines for 9 years. Then I was fascinated by fashion and style. And so I reinvented myself and became a top celebrity stylist. And I did that for 10 years. And then but while I was styling, I was like a lot of ladies or younger girls. And I was reading romance books and I was reading self-help books on love and dating. And I was obsessed with the topic and I was obsessed with dating. And then at the time, actually a neighbor introduced me to online dating. It was very early stages in the early 2000s. And she was like, oh, check out this site. You know, it was called matchmaker.com. And then there was match.com. Those two were the only ones that I knew of back then. And I thought, this is such a cool idea. The dating site where you can meet people that you might not normally cross paths with. So that actually sent me on this, and I don't know what possessed me, but it just sent me on this mission where I said I wanted to start my own online dating site. And I had been setting up friends and, you know, like a lot of people do. And I've always been a connector. So I'd connect people with animals, connect people with jobs, connect people with people. I love connecting. And so I went on this journey from like early 2000s to about 2007 of trying to start my own online dating site, but I didn't have a clue about starting a tech company. Anyway. And so finally a mentor of mine, he said, Gina, you know, you've been trying to do this for a while. Why don't you think about being a traditional matchmaker? And, you know, that was a little bit smaller than I was envisioning. I was going to conquer the world. But it also resonated with me. And so I just took, I don't know, I was right time, right place. And I just decided to fully commit. I was tired of the ups and downs of the styling world. Even when you're a hot top celebrity stylist, it's sort of up and down. And so I went all in and I just reinvented myself yet again as a matchmaker. But I didn't know at the time I was going to specialize in billionaires and celebrities. I just wanted to help everybody.
How did you get into only specializing in billionaires and celebrities, though? Is that because you already had a clientele with them from styling?
No, not really. I mean, I knew, it's sort of, I think, and I try to mentor other women who want to be matchmakers as well. And, it's sort of the, what comes first, the chicken or the egg scenario. And, it's like you can't be a matchmaker really if you don't have the people to set up with the clients. And it's like, well, do you get the people to set up with the clients first, or do you get the clients? And so I fortunately, I always did know a lot of beautiful women. Certainly that goes hand in hand with the business I was in from styling. I knew celebrity ladies and I knew models. And so when I was meeting these men who were looking for matchmaking, I took a small business loan. I ran a few ads in like some strategic places. But what I found is that, even if the men didn't really have like the big bucks, and I didn't even know what big bucks were back then. I didn't come from money. There was a whole new world for me. But they all wanted like top level ladies, like even if a guy he wasn't, anything that great, they just all felt like they deserved like supermodels. And so as I went along, I think I read something that said, the middle is always overcrowded, but there's always so much more room at the top because so many people just never aim that high. They sort of stop at the middle. And that really resonated with me. And then I decided I just took a leap of faith. So started the business in 2008, struggled from 2008 to 2010. 2010, I decided to crank everything up to 100, raise my prices. And once I did, really that kind of changed the game. Like it brought in better clients. Those guys at that level weren't trying to nickel and dime me.
You think it was just because of the exclusivity of your service costing a lot more that drew in these people that were wanting to pay more?
And it's usually it's all referral based. Well, actually, let me tell you how that happened. So what happened was I knew these gorgeous models and I started Googling type of clients I wanted. Like I would Google, a billionaire bachelors, most eligible men in LA, whatever. And I came up with this list, like a wish list of that I wanted of clients. And so when I would go and interview these women who had filled out profiles for the database, I would just say to them, hey, do you happen to know any of these men? And a lot of these women had dated them before or ran in those circles, and they'd look at my list and they'd go, yeah, I know him and him and him. And I said, well, here's the deal. Because they'd be great clients for me. And if you give me their number, their cell number, I will call them, but I will never tell them how I got their number. And I will give you a referral fee. I mean, I still give a substantial referral fee now because my whole business is built on referrals. But I just don't cold call anymore. Now it has to be a proper, hi, here's Gina, meet her, or whatever. But back then I had to kind of be covert. And I mean, I was calling like celebrities you would know, billionaires you would know. And sometimes it would take a few calls to get them on the phone. Like Paul Allen, he's dead now, bless his heart. Never became a client, but he was a huge billionaire. And it took me 3 years. I had his number and I would call off and on. And one night I was like sitting laying on the couch and I was like going through old numbers. I was like, because he never answers the phone. It's like, he's never going to answer the phone. And I like hit it and he goes, hello, this is Paul. And I was like, Mr. Allen, hello. And I was like, I had to like get in the game, but that's how I started, a lot of trust from these women. And there would be some occasionally that, of these guys that were leery or just weren't interested at all. And that was fine. I would never call them again. Like I've never been that like pest or anything like that. I make the call, I tell them what I do, and either they were interested or they weren't. And yeah, that is literally how I built the business.
How are your matchmaking services different than the competition or the people that we've seen on reality shows and things like that do matchmaking?
Right. So, I think I think it all comes down to integrity and taste. And also for me, I am genuine when I say I'm very particular who I work with. And I think a lot of times matchmakers, they get caught up in the game of trying to get everybody as a client. And so the way I say it is that I think that the majority of matchmakers, they focus, like I would say 90% of their efforts are on the sales angle, getting the clients, right? And then 10% is focused on finding the match for those clients. Whereas I'm the exact opposite. Because I only work with a few clients anyway, I continue to raise my prices, so I only have to work with fewer and fewer. And so my 90% of my business is scouting with myself and a team that I have for the women, for my guys. And then the 10% is like, okay, yeah, sure, I have room for another client now. But I'm not one of these like sales. It's like, I run a pretty great business at a very high level, so I don't really need everybody as my client.
So, your primary clients are men, right? That's your client.
Yeah. Yes.
Those are the people who pay you, are the guys.
Correct.
I mean, I know you cannot give names of who your current clients are, but are these people that we would have seen at events,
Sure.
this year, like the Oscars or the Met Gala?
Met Gala. Yes, you've seen some of them at the Oscars. One of my guys was a judge on Shark Tank, but he was like a guest judge, and this was many years ago. They own sports teams. You read about them in the papers. Some have been political figures. Yeah, they're all kinds.
Ooh, let me ask you this. So, because this is juicy. All right, so the people that you work with that are clients that are political figures, is that harder to matchmake when they may have opposite political views than you?
I mean, I wouldn't say that is any harder than anybody who just has specific political views in general. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think everybody, especially, since Trump and the things we've seen the last several years, I think sort of people have become very specific and in their partner and the politics of their partner. You know what I mean? So I don't think
Yeah.
it's specific to anyone who works in politics. I think it's kind of a lot of people who are very specific about that these days.
What are the types of things that these billionaires or just the A-list stars are looking for in women? I mean, do they say they need to have as much money as me? I refuse to date anybody that, doesn't have a certain fame status.
Well, I mean, I think that everybody's particular about looks, of course, but I find honestly women are just as particular. So, I think it's easy to say, point the finger at men and say, oh, they're so picky or judgmental. But I find women are just as picky and judgmental. So everybody is. But I'd say that beyond the looks, they definitely, my guys, they don't want someone who's just a pretty face. I cannot even set up just a pretty face with my guys. They have to be smart. The more accomplishments they have, the better. The more educated they are, the better. And it varies from client to client. In terms of some want, if they've gone to some, especially if they've gone to Ivy League schools, want an Ivy League partner. But some might not have that kind of education, but they have a lot of accomplishments. So they do want somebody who at least owns their own home, for example, or has certain amount of accomplishments. It just makes them just a little above the rest, or much more above the rest.
Do you think Hollywood clients, compared to like if you were matchmaking in middle America, put less of a focus on religion than someone might that's outside of Hollywood?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have actually had clients all over the world. So I've had them in Florida and New York and Baltimore and, Utah and everywhere, and Paris and Dubai. And it goes in phases, because I only work with 7 to 8 clients. And so it changes. Some people are on my roster. So right now I'm going through a younger phase. My youngest client is 25 and then 28.
Now,
and
why
then
would a
34.
25-year-old who I imagine he's at the peak of his life right now. I mean, that's a great age. Why
Right.
would a 25-year-old need to hire a matchmaker?
And he's so cute and tall. He looks Swedish, kind of. He's like this cryptocurrency wizard.
Ooh.
But you know what? Honestly, there's no difference in why a 25-year-old would hire me or a 60-year-old would hire me, which right now I don't really have that many older clients. I'm in a younger phase, but it's the same reason. It's not because I refuse to work with any man that has trouble with ladies, right? Why would I want to represent somebody that's going to be a hard sell? No way. I don't have to. I only work with a few clients. Well, I can be very picky. So they have to be cute. They have to be like, it has to be great that the women are so excited to meet them, all those things. And why they hire me is because usually a few things. Because they can, because they can get vetted options, because I go and I actually meet everybody in person if they're in LA. If they're not, I at least do a Zoom. I spend the time to really get to know the person more than if they bumped into them at a party. They would know nothing about them. They don't know somebody's agenda. They don't know somebody, they just don't know. And then the other part of the problem is, like, especially with my younger guy, his circle of friends. I mean, he's running like with the Elon Musks and these kind of people. And they, yes, a lot of them want to set him up, but then it's awkward if he doesn't like the person they're setting him up with, And so a lot of these guys don't want to date necessarily in their social circle because they don't want to have to tell their best friend's wife, yeah, I just don't think she's cute enough, or, her legs aren't long enough, or she wasn't smart enough. Like, they can't be honest like that with their friends. But they can be honest like that with me,
Well, you bring up Elon Musk, and one thing that is just so weird to me, I've never been able to wrap my mind around, is his relationship with Grimes.
That Grimes situation, right?
Yes. Like, okay, if Elon were to have hired you, is that a type of girl that would have been on your radar for him? That's just so odd to me.
Well, the thing is, I have to follow the marching orders of my clients, right? Now, if a prospective client came along and he said, oh, I just want a girl with big boobs and I want to pay her bills, and I wouldn't work with that guy, for example.
Yeah.
But if a guy like, Elon or any of those people came along and they were specific, like, I want her to be artistic and quirky and, whatever, all the lists that Grimes is, then yeah, that would be somebody I would have to find because that's what they say. But then there'll be times where I'll find that girl and I'll be like, my honest opinion is I don't personally like her. She doesn't get back to me on time. She's not very nice. I just don't know about her intentions. So within the scope of what my marching orders are, I then will tell them I think she's great. I would pass on her, even though I know you might like to meet her, these kinds of things. I don't necessarily understand the Grimes thing either, but she is, listen, what we do, and Elon's never been a client. I do know women who've known him and dated him. But his first wife, the one he had like the 5 boys by, or the four or five boys, she's an actress. He seems to like those that are in like music, the arts, acting, he likes that. But I think at the same time, just because they are like an actress or a singer, I don't think you should underplay probably how smart these specific women are. You know what I mean? Just like who Harry married, Meghan, she has an Ivy League degree. She's not just an actress from a TV series. She has an Ivy League degree, So I think there's more that we don't know behind the scenes of a lot of these women that they pick.
Have you ever seen those girls at big Southern schools on TikTok who deck out their college dorm rooms to look like 5-star luxury hotels? You wouldn't believe the things they do. They build tufted headboards and everything because, let's face it, college dorms as is are bleak. Like, that's where imaginations go to die, honestly. You would think that schools would put much more effort into making spaces more comfortable for students, including their beds, but you'd be wrong. Right now, chances are that either you know a graduate or maybe you are one yourself. Before you move into your new dorm in August, check out Sleepyhead Mattress. They were made with students' needs in mind. Their gel and copper-infused mattress toppers add an extra layer of comfort between your student and their mangy joke of a mattress. They have a full range of sizes from twin to king and even twin XL and full XL. All mattress toppers come with a removable, washable fabric cover with a non-slip bottom, and BTW, the Sleepyhead gel-infused mattress topper has been rated the best twin XL mattress topper and has free shipping in the U.S. plus a good till graduation guarantee. Get them for your grad at sleepyheadusa.com and use code TP10. That's sleepyheadusa.com with code TP10 for 10% off. Well, speaking of things we don't know behind the scenes, so one thing, Gina, that you wouldn't know, but my listeners know, is I cannot stand Meghan Markle. I think that girl is manipulative. I think she exhibits all of the signs of they've got a strange dynamic in their relationship, that she's controlling, that he doesn't seem truly happy. What is your take on their relationship?
I honestly have not done a deep dive about it, but I mean, listen, you can't escape the stuff on the media. I mean, definitely of the two wives, I think the other one, what's her name?
Kate Middleton.
Yeah, Kate. She seems very grounded and legitimate. I think Meghan Markle, I mean, she's just put into a very hard position too, of being really just even physically being such an outsider, just in every way, such an outsider to the situation. I mean, but then it's also, because I do work with a lot of people whose families come from money, and their family is extremely protective who they end up with and very judgmental. So it's also interesting that he would choose her given just given the upbringing and everything. So
Right.
I don't know. You have to almost believe that they're truly in love, but navigating these strange waters, because it definitely didn't make life easier for him.
I just think it's got to be a red flag. If you've got a woman who always cuts ties with her immediate family, then she's cutting ties with friends, then she's cutting ties with your significant other's family. Like, she's always alienating herself and everyone around her from anyone outside of their relationship. That seems a little weird.
Yeah, I agree. That seems weird. But I also think that the media, and you're in the media to some degree, but and you got this great podcast, but I think, we can be so manipulated too by the media. They spoon feed us, and they make things look the way they want them to look, the way the narrative. Fair. So you just never know what really goes on behind the scenes with people unless you're there. So I don't know, but it does seem like he's devoted to her. But it's hard. I don't know. I don't know.
Have you ever sat down with a potential male client who, people were really saying, you got to work with this guy, or he wanted to hire you, and just immediately you got weird vibes? You were uncomfortable. You thought there's something off about this person.
A couple times. I've gotten better and better as I've gone along at so I can see through people very easily after just at least one or two meetings, and tell people what their issues are, all these things. But
what were some of the things that they were doing that you were like, that's strange?
Well, I mean, it could be anything from somebody who's speaking very negatively about women and just being gold diggers, and or it's weird, but and maybe some matchmakers do this, but they'll say like, well, do you pay these women to go out like with your clients? And I'm like, well, of course not. I'm not in that business. Like, my guys could go and pay women off on their own if they do that, or if they want that, they wouldn't have to hire like an actual matchmaker. Or so if a man's like, just really talking negatively, or seems a bit misogynistic or ridiculously picky, like her hair has to be this length but beyond her shoulders, like cuckoo stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to work with that guy. He's just not for me, Do
you go through your database of women with your male clients present? Like, okay, let's look at this catalog. Like, does anyone here catch your eye? Like, how does that work?
That's a great question. So in the beginning, like the first stages of talking to a prospective client, I absolutely will show him like pictures based on what he tells me first. I will show him some pictures of some women that I think he might like. And honestly, it's more of me testing him to see who resonates with him, the type that resonates with him. Because, listen, I have some mind-blowingly gorgeous women in my database with master's degrees and doctors. I mean, they're gorgeous and they're amazing and whatever, and Victoria's Secret models, and it goes on and on. And so if a guy were going to come back to me and say that he doesn't think any of them are pretty enough, we got a big problem.
Wow.
We got a big problem. Yeah. I wouldn't want to work with that guy, because I don't even know like how anybody would be able to help him,
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to show them pictures in the beginning, because I have to understand what I might be in for. You know what I mean?
Now, does a woman get to see a picture of your client before she goes on a date with him, or does she go in blind?
No. I think, and I've helped a lot of women get their money back from other matchmakers, to be honest with you. I jokingly say I could create a side separate business helping women get their money back from other matchmakers because they just take their money and it's very hard to help them. And also it's also a red flag if a matchmaker is not going to show you a picture of who she's going to set you up with. They're playing games. They're not being honest. And what they're trying to do there, even if she hasn't paid the matchmaker as a client and she's just like a woman in the database, if the matchmaker's not willing to show the photo, well, I mean, let's face it, we know why, right? I mean, it's obvious why she wants to get that girl in the seat with that guy so that then she can just count that as a match. And it's just essentially, it's a waste of everybody's time. But, the women that work with me and are in my database or fill out a profile for me, the premium profiles, like, we have a lot of trust we've built. And even though those women aren't like my huge paying clients, I look out for them as well. So I care about the ladies, and that's why they trust me. They refer other women to me. I deeply care about the women as much as my male clients.
What would you consider an extra rock star quality in a woman when you're trying to set her up with one of your clients?
Well, probably a master's degree or a PhD. That would, assuming that everything else is equal. Like if you have two women who have an amazing body and they're gorgeous, what would put one up above the other? Education.
I have a fascination with SpongeBob SquarePants, Gina. Do you think that would be interesting for one of your clients?
Perhaps the right client.
Okay, so has there ever been like a super weird niche quality that a guy was saying, I am looking for a girl just super obscure that has this one specific thing, and you had to really search to the ends of the earth to find?
I mean, listen, there was a time way back when, and I was working with a pretty famous plastic surgeon. And as we worked together, he didn't tell me in the beginning, but as we started working together, he started like really getting specific about the shape of her butt, of a woman's butt. And I'm just like, I am not a butt hunter. Like I'm now inspecting women's butts. Like that's just not what I do.
Yeah.
And then but if I'd known that ahead of time, I wouldn't have worked with him. There's a guy that's been around, I think, to a lot of matchmakers, and he's approached me a couple times, but like he has literally such a long list of criteria. And one of them is like, he talks about like the circumference of the top of her arm. Like, that's just gross to me. Like,
that's super weird.
It's so weird. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I just think, but most matchmakers would say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give me your money. I'll do it. You know what I mean? And then it bites them in the ass because they're not going to be able to make that guy happy.
Well, I think that speaks to your integrity also as a person, that you don't just take money for anything. Are these clients that you work with typically averse to women with children, or don't mind, or just completely depends on the guy?
Completely depends on the guy. So like my younger guys, if they haven't had a family yet, they don't want somebody with kids. Obviously, they want to start a family with someone. But then my other guys, if they have kids, they don't mind. But some guys are okay with like women with, it's interesting. I was talking to my assistant about this. It's just every client's a little different. So like in my lifetime in doing the matchmaking, I've had clients where they would prefer that the dad is out of the picture altogether. So I guess potentially no drama. But then some won't date a woman unless the dad is in the picture. Some want to date somebody who's, if they have children, they're older. Some want the children younger. Some want more kids. It's just all over the map. It depends on the guy. Yeah.
Can you talk about what a love fraud is and how men and women can spot a love fraud trap?
Yes. So if you want to talk about, like, are we talking more specifically? Because I have a few like ebooks and blogs floating around. So I could talk about everything from the Tinder swindler stuff, which is a love fraud, to those men who display, toxic behavior out of the gate and get you reeled in. So
let's do the ones that reel you in out of the gate.
Okay. So I think the ones that would get you on the hook are the ones, and actually, this kind of happened to me early on, even when, right before I became a matchmaker, and he was a really famous celebrity, very famous. But that's going to be in the memoir. So I won't fully disclose everything, but like in his case, he would send me texts. He would give, these are guys that would give you just enough to keep you on the hook, but not enough to ever show up and really date you. And then if you call someone out on it, like say, oh, well, you never called, or we never ended up going on that date. If you call them out on it, they then paint you as the bad guy.
Yeah,
Like,
gaslighting.
as gaslighting, as if you're being mean to them. And you're like, I don't think I did anything wrong. But then they try to convince you that you did do something wrong. And so you start questioning yourself, and then you start tiptoeing on eggshells. And it's all like, it's literally like these guys, it's like a playbook. These guys do it over and over and over. And it's, once you know the behavior, I mean, they're not even original. It's just the same behavior over and over with, they're not making an effort to see you. They're not making an effort to really get to know you as a person. It doesn't, I tell the women too, like, if it doesn't feel real, he's not showing up, he's not doing things for you, he does, then it's not real. It's not real.
If a client hits it off with a woman on the first date, does that mean that your job is done? Or how long into the dating process do you stick with them as their matchmaker?
I mean, listen, I'm always here to help, because I find that a lot of people will end up hitting that first speed bump in the relationship. Everyone does. And what's cool a lot of times is I've been able to get them back on track. It doesn't happen all the time, but a lot of times the smart move is when the woman keeps in contact with me. Because once I kind of set my guys up, like, we've been buddies and we've had this great relationship, but then once I get them set up, I kind of don't hear from them anymore. But then if the woman is smart, she keeps in touch with me. She stays, on my radar, because she'll say, Gina, this happened. What do you think? And because I know him so well, I can kind of guide her. And a lot of times I have guided things back on course. One couple ended up got engaged and then got married, and another couple moved in together, and another couple got engaged and married as well. And so I was able to really guide them, but I wouldn't have been able to. The guys, they don't keep in touch with me as much as the ladies do. And it's a smart move. The ladies who don't ever follow up with me or keep me in the loop, I can't say they don't know what they don't know. But the thing is, they should lean on me, because I've got the inside scoop.
True.
I can really help them. And so if there's things going on with the relationship, I'm just a really good resource for them to utilize. So,
well, what I love about you, Gina, is that you're just so direct and forward and blunt. And so that makes me wonder, have you ever been so honest and blunt with a client or a female that you were setting up with a client that they just could not handle the truth? And they were like, I can't even work with you, because they were just so offended because you just told them how it was.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some women who got offended when I was really straight with them. I think these days, most people know what they're getting into with me, because they probably watched my TikTok videos or, seen, TikTok has changed the game. It's put me on the map here. I've been so under the radar all these years, but now people kind of know how I am, and they appreciate it. They like it. But there have been times, like, I even had a client many moons ago, and he just pushed me to the brink where a couple of them have, where I just had to, like, be really honest with them. And the thing is, a lot of times with celebrities and the super rich, they aren't used to having people be very honest with them. They don't necessarily like people being very honest with them, because the thing is, if you think about it, most wealthy people and celebrities, you see, they have people in their circle that are all constantly on the payroll. So those people's livelihood depends on their weekly paycheck. So they can't say anything. But me, they pay me up front. So I already have their money. So it's not like they can fire me. You know what I mean? Necessarily.
Right.
I've already got their money. My livelihood does not depend on like a weekly paycheck with them. So they do get honesty. It's part of the deal. I have to be able to be honest. I did have a billionaire. I'll tell you a funny story. I haven't told anybody yet. But I had a billionaire years ago it was the weirdest billionaire I ever worked with. He was nice in a lot of ways, but it was the weirdest situation. So basically, he was very specific about the ladies. They all are. But what happened was, he wanted me to find and scout the ladies like I do, pre-qualify them like I do. And then they had to meet with his first assistant and then his second assistant. They had to go through those two channels before it was a yes for him to meet them. But I had to just tell him straight up, like, I don't work like this. That's not going to work for me.
Wow. How bizarre. I mean, that really is like a job interview process.
That was weird. Yeah, that was weird, because here's the thing. A lot of times, again, these personal assistants or who are the gatekeepers in I'm a gatekeeper, like, to these guys' hearts, I say, but like, they're gatekeepers to sort of like we don't know their agenda. They may not want another woman coming in. Do you know what I mean? My agenda is clear. I want another woman coming in. I'm trying to help him find love, but I can't guarantee those assistants, their agenda is pure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like the clients that you work with and stuff and the women that you procure for them, or I don't know the right verbiage for that, but
That's
it sounds,
fine, sure.
Yeah. It sounds like the women that you work with and the men that you work with are all very physically attractive. Is there ever, is there ever a point where you think we need to have a little bit more wiggle room in how attracted physically we are to somebody, or does that really matter a lot? Like, are you ever setting up guys with women, for example, that might be a little overweight, or you try to stay away from that?
Are you trying to get me in trouble?
I'm just looking for honesty.
I'll always give you honesty. I have to follow their directives.
Yeah.
I have to follow their directives. And I guess I'm a pleaser because I really like to make them happy and get them what they want. And I think this is why a lot of times they renew with me. It's very unusual for a client, a matchmaking client, to renew for another year. But my guys, a lot of times they stick with me because they know that I'm so particular and that I do a good job. They just know that what they're looking for is so specific and difficult that that they know they're hard. So they don't, but a lot of times people move on to other matchmakers, but not my guys. They almost always stay with me. So I either get them into a relationship or they renew with me. But I'm not going to dodge the question, but it varies. Like I've had clients who want a little curvier. I've had clients who want, bigger boobs. I've had clients who want a flatter chest, but everybody really probably wants somebody who is fit. But I find the women, same thing. They want a guy who's super fit too.
You don't have women telling you like, I like your dad bod clients.
Never. No, never.
Never? See, that's
Never.
so funny to me because I feel like I'm 29 and I feel like most of my friends are like, I'm into dad bod.
Maybe in theory, but maybe if he has a dad bod and looks like Chris Pine or something, maybe.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Always something.
What are some signs that women can look for in men who maybe seem like they're good guys, and they come across as dateable, but right off the bat, Gina, as a matchmaker, these are guys that are never going to commit?
I think if he doesn't really have his life in order, if he doesn't have his career in place, I think if he's not, I think one thing that women kind of don't pay enough attention to is, a lot of these guys, especially if they're good at like playing the game, they will try to impress a girl by bringing her to meet their family, their friends. But a lot of times with these guys, that doesn't mean anything. The friends and the family have met so many women along the way, and their mom has to play along, and they all have to put on that face because they're thinking, oh, another one, But I think what really matters is when the guy wants to meet her family, her friends, right? So he's willing to do that kind of effort and get to know them and really genuinely get to know her. That's really somebody who has a little bit more depth, and it feels like he has a little more depth and he's willing to do the work. That shows to me that somebody's a little more substantial, Should
there be a 3-date rule when it comes to sex, in your opinion? Like, should you go 3 dates before having sex with someone? What do you recommend to your male clients?
Well, listen, I tell the guys that, I tell everybody I like everybody to take it slow because listen, these guys, and when I say these guys, I don't necessarily mean my clients. I just mean guys. They will sleep with a woman if they have the opportunity a lot of times. But what I've also learned is that the men who are more serious about a woman are less apt to rush her into bed. So, and I've learned that from my guys. Like if they don't, and it's in the past, I'm not working with any guys like that right now, but I have had clients, and that taught me a lot, where, one specific client years ago turned out to be a little douchey. And again, this is before I knew better, but he would rush women into bed when he did not see a future with them, which is shitty. And so now usually I tell the women, I try to, like, if I know something about a client or how he is, I will never tell her this is how he is, but I'll just be like, well, you really should take it slow. And if they want you to come back to their house, as a rule, just never do. I try to give her general advice, but I'm kind of trying to prep her for just to be on her toes about things, because I think sometimes it's very easy for a lot of these younger girls, especially, to really get swept up. I don't like it when my clients show them their house or show them all the toys or cars they have and stuff, because it's sort of like, as women, we've been raised with this fantasy of wanting the, Christian Grey and wanting the Prince on the White Horse. And so when these guys, basically give these women a ticket and show them the Willy Wonka factory, and then they don't give them the Willy Wonka factory, it's disappointing. And so I just don't want my guys to get the women's hopes up for anything until it becomes a little more real. But what I tell women when it comes to sleeping with a guy, bottom line, just had this discussion last night. So I have a private group for women called Badass and Brilliant Women on Facebook. And then I did a live event last night. And, this one woman was talking about how she's dating this great guy and we're all excited and stuff. I just did a TikTok about it. And then she ends up saying that, she's sleeping with him, but she doesn't know if she's in a relationship with him or not. And she doesn't even know, she found out that he was dating a woman for 4 years and didn't see a future with that woman. Okay. And I said, well, would you be sleeping with him right now if you knew he didn't see a future? Mm-hmm. And she said, no. And I said, well, then you shouldn't be sleeping with him. Do you know what I mean? So it's not about 3 days or 3 dates or any of that stuff. It's about, if you can sleep with them and they never call you again, or it doesn't work out, then if you won't get your feelings hurt, go for it. But if you're doing it as an investment into what you think is a relationship and you're hoping to move this into a relationship, then you have to wait until you guys have had a conversation of where you guys are, because a lot of times guys won't talk about it unless, maybe you're in the moment. That's the time to bring it up. Hey, this is fun and everything, but I'm really looking for a real relation. You have to have the conversation.
I'm not currently single, but if I was, I think my current opener on a dating app would be, do you have good meat? Do you have good man meat? What do you think I'm talking about? Obviously, I only want to date a man with the MOINK meats. That's moo plus oink. MOINK has become my secret little lover because the MOINK difference is a difference you can taste. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary called MOINK bacon the best he's ever tasted, and I stand with Kevin. Lucky number 11, Kevin. Choose the meat delivered to your door in each box, like ribeyes to chicken breasts and even lamb or wild-caught salmon. Also, don't worry, you can cancel anytime. Times are tough, especially for independent farmers in America who MOINK works with. Instead of going to your local grocery chain to get pork, which is most likely from China, by the way, support our farmers by signing up at moinkbox.com/spillover right now, and Cuteservatives can score 1 year of free filet mignon. That's 1 year of melt in your mouth steak, but for only a limited time, aka a few more weeks. That's MOINK box.com/spillover. That's moinkbox.com/spillover. Is part of your matchmaking process, you have to find someone that is sexually compatible with your client? Like, do they give you weird random kinks and things like that you've got to look for in women? Or you say, hey, the sexual stuff, you are on your own. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, they are on their own. And if they do say something like that, I just ignore them. I don't pay attention to that. I just keep doing what I'm doing. You figure that out. Cause I did have one client once that started getting weird about like STDs and stuff, and saying, he was a big celebrity, and he was saying, Gina, you really should, make sure that these women are tested, and you should make sure that ask them if they've ever been sexually molested, like that. And I was just like, oh, like, first of all, it's really none of my business to ask. Second of all, they might not be honest with me. And that's just so personal to me. Like that whole, like, what happened to you as a kid, that is something that should come up in a conversation between two people as you're getting to know each other.
Well, that also seems like a therapist job, not a matchmaker job, to be asking people about their childhood trauma.
Right. No. And regarding the STD thing, I mean, while that on the surface, like, because I do take people's suggestions and things to heart, because I'm always thinking better ways to match people, better ways to do things. But when thinking it through, the reality of it is I could meet with a woman. I could require her to submit and, give me a clean bill of health type thing. Right. But who's to say she won't then go and catch something between when I meet with her and when she goes out with my client or sleeps with my client, so there's no guarantees. And this is why a lot of the matchmaking sites and dating sites don't do a lot of this stuff as well, because it gives people a false sense of security. If I said, oh yeah, I saw her test, it was clean, and then my guy goes out with her, but then, they don't sleep together for a couple of weeks or whatever, who's to say she's, it's still the same situation. So that just is beyond my scope. I think, again, that goes hand in hand with two people. When you're starting to get into it, getting intimate, I think it's a great way to actually pre-qualify. Are we really taking this sex seriously? Are you clean? Have you been, let's get tested together. You know what I mean? And then I think both people are on the same page with the seriousness of where they're at with everything as well.
I have to pick your brain about Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson's relationship.
Yeah, and I've done a TikTok about that too.
This is so mind-boggling to me.
I agree.
I feel like there are a lot of similarities that Pete has to Kanye West with mental health issues, mental health struggles, all of these different things that clearly played a part in the demise of Kim and Kanye's relationship. And yet she's dating this man who has a lot of the same mental health disorders and stuff that Kanye did that she didn't like in Kanye, but she's giving him a chance and, bringing him around her children. He's a lot younger than Kim. He's already got her kids' initials tattooed on his neck, which I think is shocking for 6, 7, 8 months of dating.
Right.
I can understand that he's funny. People talk about this as super whatever. This is just super out there, but they say he's
magical
got that
penis.
Yeah, the magical peen or BDE, big dick energy. People say that that's, the magnet to him and his sense of humor. But at the end of the day, Pete has been very honest and open himself with the public about how, hey, at the end of the day, I have suicidal thoughts and I'm dealing with a lot of dark stuff. I can't imagine as a mother why Kim would want to bring him in to her kids' lives long term. So, I'm just overanalyzing everything, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's all very, very strange. My initial thought, and I was actually thinking about it today, my initial thought was that, and I'm still not convinced that wasn't the case, that maybe, the Kardashians do a lot, and Kris Jenner's a genius. They do a lot of strategic relationships. You know what I mean? And so in the beginning, I was thinking, it was some sort of strategic
PR stunt.
Maneuver. Yeah, absolutely. And it could have started out that way. That's what a lot of people theorize too, that it started out that way. Now he's got a new series. He inked a deal for a series. So it's worked for him. She's always pushing all the stuff she's got going on. But I do think maybe something along the way did switch, and they did perhaps fall into this, a romance thing. It's never going to last. I am shocked that she would have him around the kids. I think when it comes to him tattooing himself, and I have said this somewhere else, listen, somebody with that many tattoos, another tattoo means nothing. Do you know how quick you can cover up those initials with something? They do that stuff all the time. So the tattoo thing to somebody who's already so heavily tattooed really means nothing. I think it's all shock value. He's not like her type. It's interesting that you'd bring up the mental health thing. I hadn't thought about that overlap. But I just, it's a strange thing. I don't know.
Could you ever see her going back with Kanye? Is going back with an ex ever worth it?
So I think the only way going back with an ex works is if two people have done work on themselves over years, and you come back as different people. You know what I mean? I think that's the only way. I don't think a year breakup or a few months or weeks or days and then coming back together, same people, same problems. I think, again, like this, I don't even know, honestly, if the Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck thing, even though the years have gone by.
I'm not into that.
I don't think that is actually going to sustain itself. He's like a smoker and she's like into healthy living. It's like, I just think sometimes celebrities get caught up in the media of it all and the press. And I think they buy into it as much as we do. And then they have to be strategic about, oh God, now it's going to look bad timing for a breakup. And PR people will say, just make it work, stay together for a little while. There's again, so many things behind the scenes and we're all so manipulated by it all and we buy into it. But Yeah, I don't know if I don't think Kim will ever get back with Kanye. I think he's really jumped the shark on that one for sure.
Right. Who
He's
wh-
done so much that I don't think you can come back from.
what is a celebrity breakup that just wrecked you, Gina? Like you were devastated to see this couple break up.
Oh, I would say Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet.
Ooh, that's a good one. So
Yeah.
what is it with that? Do you think they have a chance of getting back together, or why do you think they didn't end up working out?
I don't know. I did a TikTok about that too. And some people were saying horrible things about him. I've never heard those horrible things about him, like horrible things. But there's a lot of conspiracy theorists and people get cuckoo, especially on TikTok. But I don't know. I mean, I do know people who know her, and she does live in Topanga Canyon. She is very much of a homebody. And his career is just taking off, and he's loving it. He's living the life. So, you know, I just think for that reason, probably their lifestyles haven't worked out. I mean, I probably also think there's people behind the scenes. There are other partners involved that we don't know about. Probably almost certain. There's almost very, very rarely do people ever split up, celebrities, if there's not somebody else secretly involved.
Okay,
I was theorizing that she may have found a woman. Like that wouldn't shock me. She's so different and just she's just very different. But I don't know. I don't really know what the deal is.
We have to ask a couple dating app questions just because this is kind of, I feel like one of your strengths is navigating the dating app stuff.
Yeah, I love talking about the dating apps because I only get to work with so few people for private matchmaking, right? And so I want to be able to help. That's why I set up these coaching programs for women and all this side stuff I do with women to help elevate them to a level. And I just keep pushing them onto the dating apps because I know great guys are there. So yeah.
Okay, well that's encouraging to hear you say that there's great guys there. So what is the most common dating app mistake that women are making?
Well, women and men are showing up with just low-level photos. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I call it potato quality.
What do you call it?
Potato quality photos.
Okay, sure. I would agree with that. It's sort of like the way I try to position it for people is like you have to understand that the dating apps these days, it's like the Olympics of dating, right? And so if you were ever even going to compete in the Olympics, you would never try to compete in the Olympics without proper planning and proper equipment and having everything you need to compete in the Olympics. Yet people show up on the dating apps competing in the dating Olympics because it's everybody's vying for the best looking person, the most eligible person, but yet they're showing up with like pictures that maybe their friends or family would appreciate, but that's not going to make them pop off the page. You have to really elevate yourself to a level where your photos are like, this guy's got, oh my God, she seems so phenomenal. I've got to meet her. Not like, yeah, she's okay. She's okay. But yeah, the majority of people, and men do this too. They're just like phoning it in with like these haphazard photos. It's just
men and the pictures of fish. It's a problem.
Fish thing is a big problem. But the other thing is if it's so specific that it's a fish, he may actually land a lady, get a lady on the hook that's into the fish, and then she's going to be the right match for him.
Now, okay, on apps like Hinge and Bumble, what is more important, you think? The written prompts, the photos, or the details that you write in an actual bio about yourself? What's the most important thing to focus on?
The pictures. And then your bio, and then it's who you are choosing. I think another big problem on the dating apps is that people are in this mental state where they think they have to appeal to everyone, right? They think it's a popularity contest. They think they want everybody to like them. So then what happens is their profile ends up being generic. So like the fish guy, for example, it does help him, believe it or not, even though the majority of women don't hate the fish thing, but that's great because he's weeding out all those women that would hate his fishing lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So I think the more specific you can be on in your bio, I want women to really elevate themselves. So many women I know even when they fill out private profiles for me, they like phone it in about their career. Oh, I'm in marketing. Meanwhile, I know that she's like VP of marketing, that she climbed the ladder. Like substantial men who are looking for real relationships, they want a woman who has achieved a lot, who's proud of what she's accomplished. And I think women really tend to kind of play that down a lot, especially in their bios and all of this. And because they don't want to turn any guys off. But the thing is, they need to turn them off. If they want to attract the very, very best men, then they need to make their light shine as bright as possible. So they intimidate the hell out of the ones that can't step up.
Why don't men follow up with women after they match? And how many times should women kind of like their stuff or try to get their attention if they haven't interacted with them yet on the app? Zero?
Yeah, because the thing is, and I had my own dating app for a little bit. We tested it and I kind of underestimated the ladies. They are more picky than I even thought. And I know how picky they are. But anyway, so I think that basically what I know is that the guys will go and they'll just like this. They're not even looking. They're swiping, they're matching, they're hearting, they're doing all this stuff. And it means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. But the women think, oh my God, this guy matched with me. No, it absolutely means nothing. All right. It's like a guy like winking at you in the car. Like it's just the lowest level effort possible. And so what happens is when you match with them, and then it's like, that's when he will usually go and then look at your pictures, do a deeper dive or read your information. And that's when then he decides whether he's interested or not. So then the woman, a lot of times, she'll like write to him, especially on Bumble, she'll just write to him because they're under the impression that women have to write first, which technically they do. But the way I do it and talk about in my book, The Great Manhunt, I have a whole strategy. And part of the strategy is that like when you match with them on Bumble, even if you match with Brad Pitt or Chris Pine or whoever the hot, cute guy is, Idris Elba, whoever you're into, even if you match with them, if they did not extend the time, you must just let them go. You let them go.
What does extend? You mean extend the time on Bumble, how you can extend the time?
Yep, because a guy who's truly interested, I say it separates the men from the boys. So any guy that's like hot for a woman, and this is what I know about men, because they're all sitting here in my brain, all these guys are all here. And there is not a woman that they're excited about or hot for that they would ever let get away. But it also begins with your pictures. So if your pictures are average, the guy's going to put in average effort. He's going to have average interest. So first, you've really got to elevate yourself with your photos and make sure you are like standing out. Even if you're not the best looking, even if you're not, the thinnest or whatever, you can still shine way brighter and have your pictures just more like pro level, where it's just, you just look like you're in Style magazine, like a 5-page spread in Style magazine. And then the guys are going to really step up their game more. But if he's not extending the time and he's willing to let you go, then that is a great way to pre-qualify these guys who have just swiped on anybody. And they're not really into you.
I love tips and tricks on how we can just, in playing the game. I know people are like, it's not a game, but like, play the game better. Play the game smarter. Yeah. I like it. I love strategies like that. Okay, in your opinion, do you think that people find love because of fate or because they make intentional decisions that result in a suitable partner?
I think it depends on the age. I think if you're in your 20s, I think it's fate, and you could, fall over a stone and meet the perfect person, right? I think dating gets harder as we get older, and the older we get, the more conscious and proactive and intentional we have to be. 100%.
I think it's hard for me because I have friends like this who are in their later 30s or even early 40s who are quite a bit older than me. And I know their heart, and they're also drop dead gorgeous. They're super successful, and they are just genuinely some of the best people I've ever met. But they still haven't been married. They still haven't found the one. What keeps a person single like that?
Oh gosh, so many things, I think it's so many variables involved. I think it's, in some cases, people, a lot of times if you've dated a celebrity or you've dated somebody at that level, it's very hard to ever date less than. But, and so time moves on and you're not still that same person that was dating at that level. And so you can't maybe continue to date at that level, but that's where your standards are. So there's that. or there's timing where you're just focused on your work and you're not willing to make the time to meet somebody, or, there's not one reason. I think it's different for everybody. Maybe you've wasted too much time on a guy that ended up breaking up with you, and now you find yourself in your late 30s. And in dating, again, only gets more challenging the older you get.
Do you believe in the one, or do you believe in multiple someones?
I believe in multiple someones. I think we evolve and we change, and I think there's the one at different times in our lives. There might be the one when I was in my 20s, and then there might be the one that's in my 40s. I think it changes.
Where can people find you, your services, or if they even if they're wondering, hey, am I a girl that would be eligible to be on Gina's roster?
A couple things. So they can go to my website, which is ginahendrix.com, and click on the women's tab. And there I do give women two options. There's a way to fill out a basic inquiry, and then there is a premium profile that they can fill out. I do charge a nominal fee for the premium profile, because then what they get is they get me on Zoom, where I walk through their profile with them and I say, you got to fix this photo. You got to fix this photo. Because over the years, there's been so many women over the years who fill out profiles for me, and their pictures, again, just are not happening. And then I've gone in behind the scenes and fixed it for them so that they could get dates with my clients. And so I just want to be able to help more people, and I don't want to do it for free. So they have the premium profile option. The basic inquiry is really it's just a toe in the water, but it's not really going to get them in my database on my roster. But they have their options. And then how they really get my help, where they want to book a call or read my books or my coaching and all the stuff I offer, is thegreatmanhunt.com. So thegreatmanhunt.com. And then I have a free Facebook group for ladies called Badass and Brilliant Women. And women are joining that thing like crazy. And we're having all these conversations. It's not meant necessarily for dating. It was meant to elevate women in all phases of their lives, entrepreneurs, single moms, married, whatever, just being your best badass self. But because of TikTok and my subject matter, all the women are coming in from TikTok, and they're just constantly talking about dating stuff. And I try to jump in and give my words of wisdom as much as I can, but they're having a lot of fun over there.
What is your TikTok?
TikTok is Matchmaker Gina Hendrix.
Okay, perfect. Gina, you have been a blast. You have been a blast to have on the Spillover. So much fun. And just thank you so much for coming on.
You know what? You're awesome, and you're doing awesome work. I've listened to several of your shows, and I think you're great. And I was just honored to be asked to be on. So thank you so much.
Was Gina not just the most cool, down-to-earth type of person that you'd want to be, like your big sister or your mom? Like, I just wish that I could have her number and just text her anytime something happened. Like every little thing that happens with Nick and I, or, whenever I was single, just to have her as like a professional helper on my dating life would have been, wow, that would have been pretty much a game changer, I think. But the good news is she has so many resources out there that we can take her up on if you really liked her from this episode and want to learn or know more. Or like she said, hire her to go over your dating profile and tell you what might be going wrong for you, what you could be doing wrong. So look, dating in this climate is literally terrifying. I am very happy that I have found my fish in the sea. But for those of you who are doing the dating dance, swiping in the apps and dodging duds, I hope this makes dating a little bit more fun, a lot less complicated. And I hope you enjoyed the tea on Gina's insight on some of our favorite or not so favorite celebrity couples. For need-to-know content like this, make sure that you click subscribe so that you're the first to know when episodes drop. Then leave us a 5-star review. Tell us how much you love Gina's advice. The Spillover is back next Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or you can watch the episodes on the Politics YouTube channel. I'm Alex Clark, and this is The Spillover. Love you, mean it. Bye.